Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builder Supply. In this final portion of the video review of the Ultra hardware number 44700 is to go over changing the code or combination on the lock. There is a link below this video to the two-page document that will go through it, and this video will give us a visual review. First of all, you're going to want to remove the cover, and I'm going to alter the size of our inserted video here so that we can see that. Okay, so I've got that down on my desktop. That's here. I'm going to flip it around actually so that it's pointed towards you a little bit. So the instructions say that you are to remove the blue head screws. They're red on this lock. Cover this rear plate prior to removing anything because it's all spring loaded. Okay. Okay, and here we go. Got that. I'm going to use my two fingers to control that rectangular plate because there are springs underneath it. I'm going to remove that first screw, and there are only two to remove. They're red, even though the instructions say blue. Then carefully just okay, so we've got the two screws removed, and now we're going to pull that plate off, and be careful because it's literally loaded with springs. They're captive, but you know, you want to be quite careful with it. So, per the installation instructions, what they're saying to us is that there are, page 2 is where we are right now, step 3, on the lock body with 14 wafer holes, 5 red marked wafers are identified digits for the unlocking codes, preceded by the C button. 8 blue marked wafers are neutral codes. 1 plain wafer is clear 1 for restoring numbers to free position. Okay, now let's go over that language one more time. On the lock body with 14 wafer holes. On the lock body with 14 wafer holes. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times 2, 14. Okay? What you're going to have, then it says that you've got 5 that are red, 8 that are blue, and then 1 that's clear. So you can see that 1 and 6 at the top are clearly red. You can see that 7 is red. X you can kind of see is red. All the rest are blue. Well, 4 is red. And then the C is what they call clear. The C actually has a different shape to it. The red are the ones that control the combination. The red ones correlate to the combination. So what they're basically saying that you would do is you would extract a red and swap it out for a blue. Whatever combination you want, that has to have the red wafers. They give 2 extra wafers in the packaging. 1 is red and 1 is blue. They are different in how they are notched, making them actually, 1 is notched at the top, the other is notched at the bottom. Okay. Now the first thing that I like to do is inspect the, do a reality check on the parts. And what we're dealing with here is the wafers that we've discussed. Moving through the rest of the installation instruction. Step 3, Section A, hold and push the C button. Hold and push at the time while reset the code. Pull out identified and neutral. Pull out identified and neutral wafers. Insert the identified wafers to the desired number holes. Note, always leave square cut shape of the wafers face out. Okay. And then moving into the actual changing of the material, the only thing that you really have to realize is the code is many things to realize. The code is a 5-digit code. You can turn it into a 6-digit code, or you can change it to a 4-digit code because of those included additional wafers. There is an identified, which is red, which is the code, which is, part of the code. Then there is the neutral, which is blue. So if you want to add it to 6, remove a neutral, add an identified, because you have an extra identified. Okay, and you'll have 2 neutral. And then vice versa to turn into a 4-digit code. I find that you can depress the clear. Tweezers are included as well. Okay. If I wanted to, part of that code was going to be the numeral 1 was in the code. I can take those tweezers and pull that wafer out. The notch always needs to be to the outside of the lock body. If it's on where I pulled it out of 1 here, the wafer needs to be on this side. Okay, which it was the way that I pulled it out. And if I was simply going to change that identified wafer with 2, which is a neutral wafer, which is not currently part of it, I'm going to pull that one out. And I'm just going to swap those. Okay? I'm going to put the neutral where the 1 was. And I'm going to put the identified where the 2 was. Now what I notice is I'm not able to get those pushed down until I push the C, the clear button, and that will allow me to get those pushed down to where they are. And you want to make sure that they're completely seated all the way down, otherwise the clear button won't pop back out. So now the code has been changed to C2467X. And we can test that. I'm going to push C. 2, 4, 6, 7, X. And then I can indeed rotate that, okay, to make that lock. Actually, there it is. Okay, I rotate it, and I'm rotating it still. It doesn't behave properly because the springs aren't there to push the wafers back down, and the wafers have to be seated in the proper. They have to be in the proper position to allow that to turn. And because the springs aren't included or aren't installed, I can continue to rotate that. But if I were to seat all of those items down, all of the wafers back to their final position, this unit would be locked. Okay, I've got them seated, and now I'm locked again. Okay, so what I'll do is I'm going to restore this back to the original combination by flipping out my neutral, my blue, back to the 2, and my identified red back to the 1. Push my clear so I can get them seated down properly. All of them, actually. And it's locked. And that's how you do that. Basically, switch the red for the blue, record which ones are red. That's your combination. The notches have to be towards the outside of the housing. The tip is pointed towards the top so you can see it. That's the notch right there. Tip pointed towards the top, that's the notch. Right there. Okay? And when you study them, you'll see that they are indeed like that. Reds are a combination, record those numbers, notches towards the outside, push the C button, clear, seat all of them down, put your cover back on, which we're going to do right now. We're going to just imagine that I didn't switch them back, because I did actually test them, so I knew that the switch worked. 2 screws go back in. The plate fits down real nice here, so I know that I've got everything seated properly. Not overly tight on the screws. Pushing the C for clear. We're back at 1, 4, 6, 7, X. That did not work. I'm pushing clear again. 1, 4, 6, 7, X. Worked perfectly. Don't know what happened the first time. Maybe the wafer didn't seat itself back down. Maybe I didn't seat it properly the first time. That's how you'll change the combination. Now, if you have a question on how to change the combination, by all means, feel free to reach out to us. I would be happy to help you change that. You're going to want to probably retain that somewhere after you've changed it. I would suggest that you do change it only in the fact that I don't know if they're shipped out randomly, or if, meaning the codes are randomly sent out, or if this is the code for all of them. I simply don't know the answer to that question, so I would suggest that you would change it at least to 1 digit different. Shouldn't be a problem. You know, and as a matter of fact, we could set the code for you prior to shipping in some instances. We can't always set it, meaning if we don't have the lock here in our in our facility to set that. And plus, you may not want anyone knowing the combination, so you might just need to change it yourself, and otherwise not a problem. So that concludes all of the aspects of this lock, and I beg your forgiveness for the slight misdirection on what these posts were for. Now we know what they're for, and now after this epic series of videos, you should have an expert knowledge of the Ultra 44700 combination lock. Finally, there's a link below this video to the manufacturer's page where you can pull up not only all of the Ultra hardware products that we sell, but a link to the manufacturer's website, as well as a link to the full product catalog. If you have any questions on the Ultra 44700 combination lock or any other Ultra product, please feel free to reach out to us. And thank you.